right, folks, grab a seat and pour your drink neat as Whiskers and Whiskeys presents conference previews, the Big 12, the last of the Power Four, but not the least by any stretch of the imagination. I'm Mike with EJ. How's it going, pal?
Well, it's a tie game in the top of the ninth, Detroit and the White Sox. Detroit is in Chicago, and Spencer Torkelson just hit a go-ahead home run. So great.
There you go. Love it. Love to hear that for you. What sport is that?
Baseball. I think Pittsburgh has a team.
Beast Bowl?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar. Not familiar with that. I don't think that we do. Um,
But to be, in all honesty, it's August, which means there's one sport on right now. One. Football.
the king is back.
We're back.
The king is back. And we are back on a Friday, a lovely Friday for all of our listeners, as we dig into the last of our conference previews, the Big 12, a conference that's always frisky, always fun. And you know what? I'm feeling that way about some of these teams here. Frisky and fun is definitely how I would describe it.
Yeah.
And there's two teams that I just love at the top of this conference, man. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start. So I think I want you to start us off here because there's two that I love and hold a near and dear place in my heart. One for things that have happened, one for things that are happening currently. And so I want to pick between my children. Can't pick a favorite child. So
All right. Well, then I will start off with the defending champion. How about that?
out.
Arizona State.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it was a bit of a surprise last year. And the good news for them is they return, I think it's the most returning players of any team in all of college football, any of the
Second,
power. Second.
second
Okay.
behind Clemson.
Okay. There you go. So for them, but the person, especially on offense, that they are missing is a big one. So we'll start with what they return, though.
Big head.
They do return Sam Levitt, quarterback. I'm familiar with him because he was also a Michigan State Spartan and showed a lot of promise in his freshman year at Michigan State, then came to Arizona State and continued that promise. And I would he was good last year, and I think it was more so like showed his potential because he also has he's a pass first quarterback, but he
Yeah,
has some athleticism that is pretty underrated.
got some
and
wheels.
and now he's found himself on draft boards, right? If he
Mm-hmm.
can follow up or even, improve upon what he did last year, he's going to find himself in the, being drafted, have his name called downtown in Pittsburgh in the first round. So that's a big piece to come back, right?
Yeah,
And uh this is also what year is this for Dillingham? Is this his third
this
year, I
is.
want to say?
I will tell you in 1 second. This is Dillingham's third year. Yep.
Third
Mm-hmm.
year. Okay, yeah. Bad year, but we're kind of frisky in his first year and then a complete, jump
Sophomore
this
bump, big
last
time.
year. Right.
Yeah.
So that's the good news, right? You have him, you have let's see here. Their receiver is back, McLean. Not John. I believe it is Chase McLean? Malik McLean. If anyone knows who John McLean is. Um,
McLean.
so you have McLean coming back, which is a big deal for them. The biggest loss here is Cam Scatabo. Scattaboo. We loved him. I think everyone fell in love with him. He was absolutely awesome, and they even had offensive plays that were just designed for him, scat plays. That's going to be a really big loss for them. But they do return some younger players behind him. Got an Army transfer as well who rushed for over 1,100 yards. So it's not like they don't have anyone to replace him, but that's just a big heart and soul kind of guy that they are going to now have to replace, which is tough. They do return four offensive linemen, but lose their best one. But they do have a guy that is in his seventh season that is going to replace their Big 12 all Big 12 player Fatanu. So the offense is really poised to not only return, which was a very very good offense, but really potentially improve.
Yeah.
So that's the big news there.
I will
On
just to say real
Oh,
quick,
go ahead, keep
Jordan
going.
Tyson is another wide receiver that's incredibly strong. He's a stud for me in NCAA right now. He's killing it. We have him in the Heisman Heisman conversation right now. Absolute dog of a wide receiver. Great stats. Looking forward to him going in the first round this year, hopefully, so I can that's one of the requirements to unlock one of the archetypes in the NCAA. So I'm really hoping he gets there. And yeah, that Levitt will have a good year. And these running backs they're trying to by committee take over the place of Scadaboo. Kanye Udo from Army. It's dog. Absolute dog in NCAA too. We got him also in the Heisman conversation. And they're going behind the offensive line to finish top 50 in run push and pass pro. So pretty nice. Pretty
Pretty
nice.
nice
You're gonna like
return.
that. You're gonna like that.
And then on defense, they were one of the more improved units. And were basically top 25 in both rushing and passing. And for this year, they are returning nine starters. And a lot of the players that they're like a lot of the positions that these players are returning, they're too deep in. So this is going to be just another all around good team that's just going to have to really do its best to not, I guess, like disappoint, really, right?
Yeah.
Like I think last year they had no expectations in a very wild Big 12,
Mhm.
and now they have to be the hunted, and
Mhm.
it'll be really interesting to see what they do. But I will say from the years of being in the Pac-12, they going to the desert was always a pain in the ass, and even when they were bad, my mom's old office at State Farm actually looked over at the
Yeah.
stadium there in Scottsdale, in Scottsdale. Um, so on defense again, they return nine of their starters. I think they have all Big 12 like preseason ranked players in most of the positions. I think it's headlined by a CJ Fight and other seniors on the defensive line. Then they also have a few of their returning linebackers that will also push again for kind of all conference honors as well. And then they return a pair of the safeties that had a league best 183 tackles. I will say it's probably not a great thing if your safeties are having that many tackles, but
That's good.
again,
That's a good
I
point.
think yeah, it is still a positive thing in the secondary. Also, they do lose one key player in their nickelback, Shamari Simmons, but they also return the remainder of their cornerbacks. So this is another team. This is a year now that like I said, the biggest thing for them is they were a talented team last year that is returning almost everyone. So the
Mhm.
expectations are not only high on them, they have quite a few different Heisman, potentials. But we'll see how they deal with being the hunted
Expectations. Yes.
and
Yes.
they have a decent schedule. Like they have a decently hard schedule. Like they
Yeah.
play quite a few very good teams. Texas State, I'm looking. So not only do they get
That was a close game last year. Texas.
right, and I believe though Texas State's coach might have been promoted
He
and took a
was. Yes.
yeah took a
Yes.
head coach
He
or
went to he
offensive.
went to another Big 12 school that we'll be talking about here
Okay,
soon.
that's what I thought. Okay, I was
Yeah.
like, I know I remember that. But yeah, so when I look at the schedule, though, they're going to be tested. Like they are going to be playing not only some of the teams that are going to be considered the top of the Big 12, but also teams that are kind of veteran, top level Big 12 schools as well. Uh,
What does over 8.5 wins at -106 do for you?
oh wow, that's where they have that
Hmm.
set.
Yeah.
That that tells you a lot.
Yeah. There's four. They also have four teams at +550 to win the conference, and then 15 at +650. That's where it's at right now. Which I disagree. The one team that's in there, I don't think should be in there at all at +550. But the other four teams are the four main teams that I have. This conference is very interesting because I think you have four. Realistically, I think you have two contenders. But then you have two other teams that like I would consider as one definitely is a dark horse. The other one is probably a dark horse if you weren't paying attention to them, and I don't think many people were paying attention to them. So that's why I would consider them dark horses. But you have to have the defending conference champ as who took was very close to advancing in the CFP to the court to the semifinals.
Yeah, it just took them a bit too much, right? Like
Yeah,
it's a bit too long to start to piece things together in that game.
yeah. I'm definitely gonna put them in at +550 to win the conference. I'm definitely gonna put them into my playoff picture. And I mean, we talked a lot about the offense, right? But I think same situation as with Oregon. They are super deep on the defensive line. They got some dogs there. Three seniors plus CJ Fight. Uh, Xavier Alford at safety, as you mentioned, it's probably not a good thing that your safeties are making so many tackles, but like Alfred's apparently the heart and soul of that team. I think that having that kind of a guy, that kind of a glue guy, is really important. And Dillingham just he's got the Valley going. He did that big activate the Valley thing, and I mean they didn't lose really any notable names at the portal. They got in a couple guys they needed at running back, and they're gonna be doing it this year, man. I think that um there's no reason to think that they can't return to the Big 12 title game. So
I'm with you.
yeah, I'm with you. Um, anything else on
Okay.
the Sun Devils?
Nope.
I will keep you guys updated as we go through the first year here in my dynasty, how things shake out. But things are going pretty good so far. Second team, second contender. Speaking of my dynasties, this team three-peated the national championship. Ben Antonio broke every single record you could ask a wide receiver to have in NCAA. We're talking about the Red Raiders, the Thunder in Lubbock, Texas Tech, baby. They were frisky and fun last year. They were definitely frisky and fun. There was what game was it? Where it was like raining, it was messy, and it was yucky. It was I forget who they played, but that was an exciting game. Um, and the Matador Club, they they went out on a spending spree, baby. I mean, there is oil money in Texas for sure, and oh, buddy, did they spend it? Um, not only did they, where's the was it they uh Matador Club leader was asked, "Will you buy the team an offensive line?" Cody Campbell replied, "I will." And then he signed three top 10 transfer offensive linemen, a fourth who was a true freshman All American. And then he went ahead and signed in total, 13 4-star transfers. There are 12 4-star transfers in the rest of the Big 12. Um, they do have a double coordinator switch, but Mark Leftwich from Texas State led a very solid group, and now he is coming in to be the offensive coordinator at Texas Tech. Um, uh, Baron Morton, their quarterback, he has the clutch gene. That game that I cannot remember, I think it was it against TCU? No, they lost that. Oh, maybe it was TCU because it was close, but they lost 34-35. It was a very close game, and I was just say is the clutch gene, but he did lose that game. But he has pulled up a couple of late game miracles to at least keep them in it, if not win the game. Um, they're the biggest one of the biggest stories of the transfer portal is obviously that Quentin Joyner is now a part of this team as well. And he is joined in the backfield by Williams and Dickey, who, they obviously lose, Taj Brooks at running back last year. But I do think that they're going to be in really good shape by getting Joyner to come in. Um,
Drafted Taj Brooks in my actual NFL fantasy.
oh, did you?
Little late round.
I think that
Hopefully, maybe a little keeper action towards the end of the year.
fancy tip there. Go ahead and draft yourself some Taj Brooks because I think you're gonna like the way you look. I'll Men's Warehouse you on that one. Um, Wide receiver room is absolutely stacked. So they have Douglas and Aiken returning. They get this kid Reggie Virgil from Miami of Ohio. He had 811 yards and nine scores, all MAC. Gotta love that. Um, and obviously they have their offensive line bond paid for now. I don't know if they got a lease or if they're doing, what the interest rate looks like and everything like that, but they do have a strong offensive line now to help kind of ground this unit. Um on defense, Shield Wood came in. He needs to go ahead and kind of revamp the defense a little bit. They did have a pretty heavy losses in the transfer portal this year. But you know what? Wood went ahead and made some things happen for them last year. I think he can go ahead and pull some stuff out for them again. They have a bunch of transfers coming in on the defensive line, which and secondary was an issue for them last year. So they went ahead. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to bring in some more transfers. So, I do think that the biggest concern that I have with the Texas Tech Red Raiders is just when you see it all looks good on paper when you get all these transfers in, but as we've seen in the past, sometimes it doesn't always pan out. Um, I do think that they were frisky and fun last year. I do think that there is some positive momentum happening. Um, and I'm a believer. I think it's going to happen. I think when you have a quarterback who has a clutch gene, I think when you have a good running back, if they can get the offensive line to, go ahead and do what they're paid to do, I think that they'll be in really good shape. So I do expect to see Texas Tech and the Sun Devils competing for the Big 12 championship, and I'm gonna have a real tough time. I'm gonna have a real tough time deciding who I cheer for in that situation. My former team versus my current team. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Not so fast, my friend.
Legit or a swerve?
This is a legit not so fast.
Okay, and that's fair. That's
And
fair.
I think the next team I was between the two, and I was trying to find, and then I do think there's a more, let's call it, veteran Big 12 school that I do think can reestablish itself if things go the right way as well.
Mhm.
Um, but I just can't get, I cannot get Robertson out of my head, because I remember seeing right after the draft, the NFL draft this year, the way too early next year's draft, right? And
Mhm.
it's always like a fun thing that I do, and I do like the guy that does it. Obviously, he's aware that, like, these are all based on projections, and there's obviously going to be half of these players that live up to those expectations, and then another half that don't, and a bunch of people we don't know about that make that leap. But when I saw Sawyer Robertson at the top of that draft, I went, huh? And that piqued my interest. And then you get and it just kind of stuck right there, right? Because
Mhm.
I don't remember the Bears being any good last year,
Yeah,
right?
that's the team. Yeah, but
And then you get this six preview, and you see him up there in in this contender list in his eyes in the Big 12, and it made me want more.
Mhm.
And I do think, for me, I think I just like what the Baylor Bears offense could be. And mind you, we will get to the defense, and I think it's going to be better score 50 points a game, but I
Mhm.
think they could do it. And especially if this guy ends up being what they think he can be, that's the great equalizer, especially in college football, right? If
Mhm.
you got a guy at quarterback, they can overcome a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, with Baylor in particular, when he played, Robertson played, even hurt in the final 7 games, they were their play metrics were out of off the roof. And their offense, even like their scoring offense, was very high. The rushing offense was middle of the pack, but a lot of that is dependent on Robertson being healthy because he's also a dual threat. So he's 6'4", he's 220, he's exactly what you want out of a quarterback, a dual threat guy. He definitely got hurt. Let's see here. So he took over in the third game and relieved Daquan Finn. I could have told you Daquan Finn from the MAC was going to be terrible. That dude can't throw a forward pass. And he proceeded to throw 3,000 yards and 28 touchdowns. Had a breakout game against the Texas Tech, his hometown team, 5 touchdown game. And he eventually finished second in Big 10 or Big 12 QB rating, and the sixth highest amongst returning quarterbacks in all of FBS. So for me, that's a really big deal, and something that I really really high, like we always talk about this. Quarterbacks are a big deal for me, and when
Yeah.
you are breaking a new quarterback, it's always kind of sketchy. But when you have a returning one, and especially one that has like potential, it usually just wins me over. And to Texas Tech, like kind of pivoting back and forth here, like if Morton stays healthy, he was really good. Like he
Mhm.
definitely was, but he's had his injuries the last 2 years,
Mhm.
and I think obviously Robertson's ceiling as just an overall guy is higher. But this is very much kind of a coin flip for me. I definitely
Mhm.
think everything you said about Texas Tech is true. I think there's a little bit more unknowns, and that can go both ways, right? That can
Yeah.
either catapult you one way or sink you another. So,
And I think
um,
everything you're saying about Baylor is true. It's just I agree with Robertson. Offensive line's huge. They are number 9 nationally in returning production, which is great. But that production they're returning on defense, I'm not so sure about all that.
yeah, and that's
You want to bring that
and
back?
I yeah, and I get it. And just kind of round out a little bit of this offense. So the backfield duo of Bryson Washington and Dawson Pendergrass finished as only a handful of nationally to feature a 1,000-yard rusher and a 600-yard rusher. And one of those was a true freshman, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's a big deal. So not only do you have Robertson, who is dynamic in running and throwing, but you also have a running back duo that's just as good. They're bringing their top 2 receivers back, one of which earned all Big Ten, and Josh Cameron, all Big 12, excuse me, honors as a receiver and a kick returner, and was the first Baylor to receiver to do that, to have first or 10 touchdowns season since 2021. So then you have as co-star, I was gonna mention it here, but we already mentioned Pavia again. So he's going to be a 9-year college player, benefiting from that JUCO eligibility rule. And then they have a couple of, top 100, former top 100 guys that are going to kind of fill in behind them. Before the 5 offensive linemen are starting, and it was an improved unit last year. And I do think there's the ability, again, just to have that continuity on an offensive line is big, and they're likely to not take a step back, but probably improve. The issue is with the defense. I will say Dave Aranda, their head coach, did take over the play calling. And when he did, it took him from horrific to average. So that's where I kind of feel hopeful, right? That whatever he unlocked in his, demoting of his defensive coordinator, will hopefully continue. And it starts in the middle. They have an all Big 12 linebacker in Keaton Thomas, returning. And they also reloaded with a few different transfers from Fresno State, from FIU, and a couple 4-star kids behind there as well, including a guy that was the Conference USA Defender of the Year is likely to then come into the starting lineup and hopefully make an impact. They lost their two outside linebackers and their kind of rush linebackers, but they backfilled them with a guy from Oregon and then a guy from Tulane as well. So some experienced guys that have played meaningful snaps. And then last year, their defensive end, Jackie Marshall, had Big 12 honors as well, with about 6.5 tackles for loss and 3 sacks. And they also added a transfer from Texas A&M as a huge run stuffer, kind of nose tackle guy as well. So their biggest weakness was explosive passing and their secondary. 3 of the 5 starters are back, so that's kind of can be a good and a bad thing. It depends on if they're young, and in this case, there were quite a few young players, so you kind of hope that those young players take a step forward. But honestly, really, what this comes down for me is it was a horrific defense that looked average once the head coach took over, and an offense that has like fun bring back Big 12 offense like potential. So if that offense can be exactly as
Texas Tech
elite,
doesn't.
I know, no, and so does Arizona State, and that's why
Yeah, right.
truthfully this is, and I think I talked about this in one of the previews last week where there was a conference I was looking the most forward to watching. This is it
This is it.
because
Yeah,
you have the top three
yeah, I
that
agree.
not only have fun offenses, and
Yeah,
honestly, I kind of like that they don't have elite defenses. I know Arizona State's defense is pretty goodish, but I would rather watch these guys play each other in the
we watched the
40s.
Big 12 for 64 to 61 football games.
Mhm.
That's what we watch. Or no, yeah, that's a bad number. Let's do yeah, 64 to 56 because we don't really kick field goals in
No, we don't kick
yeah,
field
we don't
goals.
kick field goals in the Big 12, right? So yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, yeah, when it comes down for me, so you kind of mentioned that you think Arizona State and Texas Tech are going to be in it. I think it's Arizona State and Baylor, and it's really just a difference of one game. I think
Yeah, yeah.
Baylor loses. Let's see, I have it written down. I think I have Arizona. Well, I guess we can get it. I think Arizona State loses maybe one game. I think I have Tech losing 2 and Baylor and Arizona State losing less than that. So some of them are playing each other. So obviously it'll get
Yeah,
determined.
right. Baylor isn't
Um,
playing Tech this year, which
no,
is
but Arizona State
sucks.
plays
I wish
both
they
of
were.
them.
Like, why is that not a
I know.
protected rivalry? That should be.
I know.
But yes, Arizona State does play both. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough draw for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what it comes down to. It's kind of the unknown with Texas Tech. You kind of mentioned it, right? The 2 coordinators, the offensive line, a little bit unknown, but the potential there is to be exciting.
Yes. Yes.
And either
I
way, you have Levitt and Robertson are 2 NFL quality guys that could be first round picks and drafted next year. And then Morton has been proven when he's been healthy to be able to run that Texas Tech offense at a very high level. So regardless, 3 quarterbacks that have had experience now, should be just a fun race at the top of that conference.
I agree. I agree. And I'm with you. Like I like Baylor this year too. Like there, like I said, there's 4 teams I like, right? And when you look at the schedule, so like both of those teams play Arizona State. I think Arizona State probably is going to get both of them, right? So then you have to look at okay, who else do they play? Like I assume they go to conference tiebreaker first before they go to anything else like conference schedule. Um, and if I kind of just look at both of the team's schedule, and similar opponents that they play, there's one team that they play, um, who Texas Tech gets them early, Baylor gets them late. And while one does not simply walk into Rice Eccles Stadium and walk out with a win, uh, I do think that even though they've had some growing pains, they didn't leave the Pac 12 on a great note. They ain't aired the Big 12 on a great note either. But you know what? Cam Rising's gone. He's retired. He's not stepping out of that locker room anymore. And I do think that we can have a new era in Kyle Wingham football. I don't think they're a contender. I don't even think that they're necessarily a dark horse, but I do think that they're going to be frisky and I do think that they're going to be fun. I think they had to shed that old Pac 12 identity of being this like big bad wolf, scary, like the Baba Yaga. You can't go into Rice Eccles Stadium because you're going to leave with, your teeth kicked in, your wallet missing, your girlfriend's pregnant now by someone else, and then your car's been broken into, and someone took out all your tapes and left them on the ground and pissed on them, right? So that was quite a diatribe. I do think that I do think that there are better days ahead for the Utah Utes, and this is a team that when I was just looking through their preview, I was like, boy, they have had a couple of issues here, but just like looking at everything that they have coming in, like Jason Beck, he ran New Mexico's offense last year. It was a run heavy offense. It was an interesting offense. It's filled with a lot of motion, a lot of misdirection. They finished number 2 overall in rushing yards per game and 6.7 yards per carry, which is number 1 nationally. And they got the guys that can help to complement this. You got Devin Dampier, who's coming in to run the whole system at quarterback. He's a dual threat. He's elusive in the pocket. Now he does need to start making some better decisions, right? Because he had 12 touchdowns, 12 picks last season. So you expect that he'll get a little bit better in the second year, and he will have a much stronger offensive line coming in this year than he did previously. Whenever he at Fresno? Was that
New
where he
Mexico.
was? New Mexico, when he was in New Mexico, right? So he needs to improve his decision making. He won't be able to scramble as easily in the Big 12 as he was in the Mountain West. But he will have a better offensive line behind him, and the offensive line, which could be again a Joe Moore candidate offensive line. Um, I love also EJ. I'm surprised that you're not super high on Utah, given their running back that they brought in, Parker from Wazoo. He's the man. Um, they are relying on obviously some transfers here at wide receiver, which I think is going to be tough. Um, but and they've lost a lot of their pass catchers. But I do think that with the some of the talent that they have coming in from the portal, I think it could be a pretty interesting situation here in Utah. Now, obviously, it is a full rebuild on offense, but Morgan Scalley, I think he's up for the job. Like, despite how terrible the offense was last year, the defense still finished top 20, at least in the opponent adjusted metrics that we have here in Pick Six previews. So that's nothing to sneeze at, man. In this conference, I think having a decent defense that can, just somewhat put the brakes on the other offenses that you're seeing when you have a new interesting offensive court. This could be a situation like we saw for like for Baylor last year, right? They installed a new scheme and everything like that and just kind of clicked right in the middle of the season. This could be a situation I think with Utah where maybe they start and struggle a little bit, but when they get some live game reps with that new offense that's coming in, I think it's gonna be a real problem for defenses to handle when you have a lot of the motion and things that are happening that can get college kids out of position, especially when the defenses in the Big 12, as we've said, aren't that great. So if you're gonna have kids that just are playing out of position, then it's a good opportunity to even if you are relying on the transfer portal for a lot of your wide receivers, you have an offensive line who can give you time and help you to make plays. And you have to obviously worry about the quarterback taking off on you. So I do like the Utes this year to take a step forward, a little bit better than they have. As long as half the team doesn't get injured again, I think that they'll be on the up a little bit. So I like the Utes.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem for me was just I, it's tricky for me to trust that offense.
Yeah, I totally.
And I guess it's more so like in comparison to the other ones. I just have like a
Well,
feeling when you have offenses that can really sling it, and you're the team that's going to try and like eat clock and slowly move down the field, which I think, like, especially with the offensive line and the fact that their offensive coordinator brought his quarterback and I believe a running back, maybe not the
Yep.
starter, but a running back as well,
Yeah.
that obviously puts you ahead of the curve, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're implementing a new offense. Um, I'm just afraid that the combination of unknown on defense, although they should get the benefit of the doubt because of how good that defensive coordinator has been, coupled with an offense that's like telling you it's not going to be explosive, um, makes it frisky. I think, like you said, I think they maybe catch a team at Rice Eccles. I don't know that they're going to like really, like, and you said it, so like you don't consider them a
But
contender. I don't know that they're really going to like contend.
I also don't think, let's not confuse run heavy with not explosive. Because with
12,
the
12 passing touchdowns, 12,
but when
12.
but when you have a scheme that's designed to get people out of position, then I think that that's where,
Yeah,
like,
at
I
New
don't know how many
Mexico.
rushing touchdowns that they had, like that's, and maybe they didn't
Yeah.
need to have that many. Well, maybe when they got down to the one, it was all 99-yard passes and then 1 yard rush, bump it in, who knows? That's how I do it in NCAA. But
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but at the same time, I guess it's the Mountain West. I don't know. Where did they? Where did I get some numbers here? Where did they finish last year? Well, let's put this. They can rush all they want, but if they're rushing because they play they play Mercyhurst. Look at
oh,
that.
really?
Yeah, they do. Mercyhurst goes out to the desert in 2026 next year. Count me in. That's a
Wow,
funny thing to be
that's
on here.
insane.
I'm just looking for some 2024 stats, and I'm finding Mercyhurst on New
Small
Mexico.
world, small
Uh,
world.
you're not wrong. Obviously, like I don't disagree with you. I don't know. I get nervous when it's like, well, Jacksonville State did the same thing last year with Rich Rod, where they were like so run heavy and they were really good at run heavy, but eventually you run up against a team that can stop the run. And
Yeah.
if your quarterback, even in the Mountain West, threw 12 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, 12 touchdowns, it's like some teams have that in their first three games,
Hmm.
right? So, especially if you're run heavy, then you can play action. Um,
I'm relying on sophomore bump and better offensive line to keep you protected here. Like that's what I'm thinking is going to help be kind of the driving force behind this. Great
yeah,
offensive line.
he had 155 yards rushing. Also, they had Eli Sanders. Eli Sanders was like an Ole Miss
Oh,
transfer, wasn't he? Oh, he's a Trojan now. So they also had a pretty decent fella run the ball
he did.
with Dampier. But yeah, no, I feel a little bit like disappointed because you're right. This is always a team we love. We love Kyle Whittingham. He's at the end of his career, which sucks. Um, I just like I don't know. I just see an offense that's can't be worse than last year, but I don't know it's necessarily going to be like super
Ball
great.
breakers. Yeah. Yeah.
And then in a new offense, still a new scheme, it's still going to take some time. Like you said, I think like at the end of the year is probably when you start to hopefully see some results. And then the defense, they just like they don't have a ton returning, but you do at least like want to give Morgan Scally, their defensive coordinator, like the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I'm just not as excited as you are, but I hope
That's
because we love Rice Eccles and we
we do.
love the Utes, and I do hope they become a wrench, but I'm just not as excited,
A monkey in
unfortunately.
the wrench, a fly in the ointment, pain in the ass. All right. That's all I got in the Big 12. You have any other teams that you'd like to chat about?
Yeah, so my experience dark horse is Kansas State.
Oh yeah.
So I think that they are a team because they, do you think they had a good year without looking?
No.
No.
Because I looked at their year last year. I was
Yeah.
like, well, when did that happen? Yeah.
Right. It's just kind of it felt really bad to them.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it just felt bad. and they went 8-4, won their bowl game 9-4, right? So it wasn't as horrific. I mean, obviously, that's good news for them because Kansas State was never a football, not never in anything school, let alone a football school. So I do want to say, like, what I didn't realize in that stretch is I think I saw the worst of Avery Johnson, and not realizing that there were some. It was very hot and cold, but there was some really good hot. Like there were some plays and some games where he played really really well, and the offense themselves played really well because of that. And I'm wondering now, after a year of starting, right? That was his first year starting. He got in as a true freshman as like a gadgety guy, but last year was his first real year starting. So I just wonder if he makes a jump and doesn't make the same kind of first time starting mistakes. I'm wondering if they can um, potentially be a team that's like really right below that top three, with a chance, because they've been there and done that too,
Mhm.
with like, with regards to Texas Tech and Baylor, like with their current coaches, they really haven't, right?
Yeah.
Arizona State's a 1 year deal so far. Kansas State has been a perennial contender in the Big 12, under what's his name, Kleiman.
Yeah.
Is that is
Yeah.
that the
Jeff
coaches?
Kleiman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kleiman. Under
Good
Kleiman,
stuff.
since he's been there. So I do really like that. Let's see what else I put. The offensive line has been revamped. I think that was one of the bigger issues, for them, and they have added. Let's see here. So they return a couple of like second team, Big 12 offensive linemen, and then added a couple of a wave of power four starters, that kind of I think I want to say they can go almost too deep, with players that have experience. Ohio State, Penn State, the number one JUCO tackle, Pittsburgh, USC. So they're bringing guys that have come from big programs, that have some starting experience. Then you have Dylan Edwards, the running back. He came take over in the bowl game, right, replacing some
Mhm.
of the people that didn't want to partake and went to the draft. And in his bowl game, he had 223 yards and 3 touchdowns. So that's a good sign for them moving forward. And they also have a bigger guy. He's more of like an electric speed guy, a bigger guy to help round that off. They also have their leading receiver back in Jace Brown, um, and they lost the next two receivers, but they backfilled them with a couple more transfers and a couple of recruits that are kind of, again, at the age. And then they have, let's see, 4 veteran tight ends. So pretty solid there. And then defensively, they return a bunch in the front seven. Um, I think the biggest issue for them was their pass defense. Their rush defense was actually, kind of tops in top half of the college football, top really third in football. It was just their pass defense was pretty terrible. But they do at least return an all conference, or at least Big 12 honorable mention safety. And they like brought in new players. So it's kind of one of those situations where the secondary didn't perform very well last year, but the players that they're bringing in now, will hopefully be at least even marginally better than last.
Yeah.
So, and I really do like the fact that they have been there, done that. The problem is they play all three of the big dogs. So
Right.
the
Right.
schedule is brutal. But the
Right.
the thing is, they're probably going to get one, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I hope it's not, you hope it's not the one that you're choosing. But
That's the thing. Yeah, I don't think that they get any of them. That's
oh, you don't?
because,
Okay. Okay.
well, because I mean they might. I don't. In my
No
projection,
one
I
goes
don't.
into Manhattan, Kansas.
It's just Avery Johnson. I just don't
No, yeah.
until proven otherwise. I
Yep.
just have a real trouble trusting that young man.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Um,
I will say, and that's where I agree with you. And I had the same feeling. And then when I like looked, I think what he broke in his first year as a starter, he shattered their touchdown record. So, mind you, the guy that he replaced is a defending national champion. So,
Yeah.
so I do think there was some bad, but I think there was more good than I thought. And this is obviously all dependent on him. And he was a highly touted guy, right?
Yeah.
You know, almost high 4-star, almost five. No, I'm with you. And that's why I think like if he makes the bump, I do like their chances of being right there because like I said, they definitely have the experienced coach that's been in high pressure situations. But I think the biggest, even if he does turn out to be really good this year, it's going to be hard to beat all three, right? It's going to be hard to like beat the top, all three, you know, projected top
Yeah.
teams to really get themselves in the top two, you know, one of the top two spots.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, I sure as hell wouldn't want to play him if I'm one of those teams, especially at the end of the year. What do we got? Like Tech, okay, they got them pretty spread out, don't they? Or I guess it's just Baylor and Texas Tech for them this year.
Yeah, they play Tech at the beginning.
Okay.
Then they go to Oklahoma State. They go to Rice Eccles at the end of the year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's interesting. I don't know. It's just a team that, like I said, they're just kind of like a veteran, had a bad year for them last year. And I do think they have the chance to turn it around. And I think the fact that they have kind of been there, done that makes them interesting to me because the other three are pretty inexperienced in that and could, you know, could drop a game. And I feel like their best position, I don't believe in Iowa State this year. BYU's a mess. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that there's necessarily like Colorado has a ton of question marks. Houston's, you know, not super great. So Oklahoma State's been a huge disappointment with Gundy. Unfortunately. But yeah, I can just see them being if one of those top three slip, I feel like they're going to be the ones that fill that void in my eyes, but I guess we'll see.
We will. So as we look at the you know, upcoming kind of or look forward to what the championship game would be. I already said, you know, I'm gonna have to choose between my two kids. I choose Arizona State over Texas Tech in the finals. Who do you have?
So I have Baylor and Arizona State, but I think I have Baylor beating Arizona State in Waco at the regular season.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then Arizona State gets them back in the Pac-12 championship.
Okay.
Or Pac-12. Big 12 championship. So Arizona State. So they're both going to be one-loss teams, which is just not important for this pod, but for the playoff preview when records, which made me realize, and I think I prefaced this about the SEC and how I was not only probably the least prepared, but you know, feeling pretty good. I might have backed myself into a corner. I don't think I would have now that I've like looked at it. Didn't realize how many of those schools played each other. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, so that's what I have. I'm going to have a one loss Arizona State winning, and Baylor will be a one loss champion, or I'll have them undefeated losing in the Big 12 championship.
Okay. Very.
I know.
Played out last year. So
I know. See?
Yeah. All right. Well, then that will do it for us, folks. That is our last of the conference previews. All we have coming up now is our final kind of like playoff preview. We'll break that all down. And we're going to do it for the trophies.
So, for Mike, I'm EJ. Always remember, too much of anything is bad. Too much good whiskey, barely enough.
Cheers, boys.